Daniel belongs to me. I will never share him with another lady. I have sacrificed a lot for this relationship and you can't ruin it, Anita said. Shut up, the other lady fired back. Daniel is my man and no one can come in between us. I don't care about your silly sacrifices. I'll make sure we get married. Daniel stood, looking at them from afar, with another lady standing beside him. Daniel Adebayo was born into church before he ever learned how to speak. Before he knew the alphabet, he knew hymns. Before he understood money, he understood offerings. Before he learned how to lie, he learned how to pray. His father was a committed church worker. His mother never missed a Sunday service. Morning devotion was not optional in their house. It was law. Even birthdays started with prayer. As a child, Daniel was known as that good boy. He could recite Bible verses effortlessly. He led prayers in children's church. Sometimes elders would lay hands on his head and say things like, "This one will serve God." Daniel smiled when they said it, but deep inside, something in him resisted. By the time Daniel got to secondary school, he began to hate the word ministry. To him, ministry meant boredom, long services, no freedom, no fun, no money. He watched pastors struggle while businessmen prospered. I will not suffer in the name of God, Daniel often thought. So when he gained admission into the university, he made a quiet vow to himself. I will enjoy my life. And enjoy it he did. University changed Daniel. Not slowly, violently. The boy who once quoted scriptures now quoted party addresses. The young man who once avoided girls now collected them. Daniel didn't just attend parties, he started them. If Daniel was there, the party was alive. Music followed him, laughter surrounded him, alcohol flowed easily around his table. He danced like someone with no tomorrow and laughed like consequences did not exist. Girls loved him, not because he begged for attention, but because he never did. He was confident, smooth-talking, charming. Daniel played ladies like a DJ played tracks, smoothly switching from one to another without missing a beat. He told each one what she wanted to hear. You are different. I don't do this with everyone. I can see a future with you. And they believed him. Sometimes they fought over him. Real fights, shouting matches, threats, tears. Once, 2 girls nearly came to blows in front of his hostel. Daniel watched from a distance and smiled. They love me, he thought proudly. Church became optional, then rare, then non-existent. When his mother called to ask if he still attended fellowship, Daniel lied effortlessly. Yes, Mommy, I'm in church now. The call would end, the music would increase, and Daniel would raise his glass to a life he believed was finally his. But even in the loudest rooms, God did not leave him. Sometimes, in the middle of a party, when the lights flashed and bodies moved, Daniel would suddenly feel empty. The music would fade for a second. His heart would feel heavy. A scripture would flash through his mind without warning. He would shake his head and drink harder. No, he would whisper to himself, not now. He buried the voice under pleasure, under women, under noise. By final year, Daniel's reputation was sealed. Everyone knew him, not for academics alone, but for lifestyle. Daniel, people would say, that guy is enjoyment personified. But heaven knew him for something else, a called man running. And God was patient. Daniel was in his final year at the university when death came looking for him. Final year, a season meant for focus, projects, and the future. But Daniel's future at that moment was riding in the back seat of a speeding car at 2:17 a.m. The night had started small, a birthday hangout. Just music, just drinks, just friends. But small nights had never stayed small around Daniel. One party led to another. One location became 3. Laughter grew louder. Alcohol flowed deeper. By the time they got into the car, the road was empty and the driver felt unstoppable. Daniel sat in the back seat, head tilted. 2 girls squeezed beside him. Perfume mixed with alcohol. Music blasted. Then the world broke. The car hit something hard, then crashed violently against the seat. His head struck something solid. Pain exploded behind his eyes. Then everything went black. He woke up to silence. Not the quiet of sleep, but the heavy silence of a hospital room. Pain greeted him before memory did. His body felt foreign, stiff, weak. He tried to move. He couldn't. Fear gripped him. You are lucky. Lucky. The doctor didn't sugarcoat it. You lost a lot of blood. You had internal injuries. If help had come later, we would be telling a different story. Daniel stared at the ceiling. I almost died. That night, alone in the hospital, reality sat on his chest like a weight. No music, no women, no laughter, just him and God. I know, he whispered brokenly. I know I've wasted time. I don't want to die like this. His hands trembled as he made a vow. God, if you heal me, if you let me leave this place, I will work for you. I will serve you. I will change. Peace filled the room. Healing came. Slowly at first, then quickly. He was discharged after a week in the hospital, walking carefully, humbled, quiet. For 2 months, Daniel was different. He avoided night outings. He stopped drinking. He attended fellowship on campus, sitting at the back, listening quietly. By the 6th month, pain was gone. Life felt normal again. Daniel began attending small gatherings, a birthday dinner here, a friend's celebration there. The promise began to feel distant, like a dream. By the end of the year, Daniel was fully back. Not just back, bigger, better, louder. From birthday bashes to campus-wide parties, Daniel's name returned to circulation. The same hands that once lifted in fear in a hospital bed now raised bottles in celebration.
Graduation day arrived, dressed in celebration. Caps flew into the air. Parents smiled proudly. His mother hugged him tightly. God has preserved you, she said softly. Daniel smiled. Life after school opened quickly for Daniel. Opportunities found him effortlessly. Within months, he secured a good job, one of the best offers among his peers. His salary was impressive for a fresh graduate. His office was air-conditioned. Money entered his account regularly. Respect followed him. Confidence multiplied. And with success came freedom. His phone buzzed. A message from his mother. Daniel, have you thought about God's purpose for your life? He dropped the phone.
It was around this time that Daniel reconnected with Pastor Elijah. Pastor Elijah was not loud. He was not flashy, but he was deep. One evening, Pastor Elijah asked Daniel to visit him. Daniel arrived confident. Daniel, he said finally, you are successful, yes, but you are not settled. Daniel laughed lightly. Pastor, everyone has stress. Pastor Elijah shook his head. This is not stress, he said gently. This is purpose calling a man who is refusing to answer. Daniel shifted in his seat. Pastor, please, he said. I respect God, but ministry is not my calling. That life is hard, it's boring. I've worked too hard to now start struggling. Pastor Elijah nodded slowly. Then the conversation shifted. Daniel, Pastor Elijah said, are you praying about marriage? Yes, Daniel answered quickly. I know the kind of woman I want. Then Pastor Elijah spoke carefully.
"Daniel," he said softly, "there is a woman around you, very close. She is humble, she fears God, she understands sacrifice. She may not look like what you imagined, but she is aligned with your destiny." Then Pastor Elijah added, "She cleans your office." Daniel froze, then laughed. "A cleaner," he said, half amused, half insulted. "Pastor, please, let's be realistic." Pastor Elijah did not smile. He said quickly, "That one no get nyash." The words fell heavy in the room. "Marriage will either push you toward God or pull you away from Him. Choose carefully." Daniel nodded politely, but his heart was already closed. That night, Daniel lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The cleaner's face flashed briefly in his mind, quiet, respectful, unnoticed. He shook his head and laughed. "No way," he muttered. And with that decision, Daniel stepped further away from alignment and closer to collision. After his conversation with Pastor Elijah, he became more determined, not to seek God's will, but to prove everyone wrong. And so, Daniel went ahead with the woman his heart wanted. Her name was Vanessa. Vanessa was beautiful in a way that commanded attention. Her body turned heads before her words ever could. She dressed effortlessly, laughed loudly, and walked with confidence that made Daniel proud to stand beside her. The wedding was elegant, not extravagant, but tasteful. Daniel felt accomplished. But slowly, very slowly, peace began to leak out. Vanessa did not pray. When Daniel suggested it, she smiled dismissively. "You are too serious," she said. "Let's just enjoy life." Church attendance became arguments. "Why must we go every Sunday? Can't God understand we're tired?" Daniel tried to compromise. Then small fights began, not over big issues, but values. Daniel began staying out late again. Work meetings, business discussions, networking. Old habits slowly returned. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the same city, Esther still cleaned offices. She had heard rumors. People talked. "Madam Daniel is fine, no. Guy marry better woman." Esther smiled politely when she heard it. She said nothing. She prayed. She trusted God. And God was not finished writing the story. The collapse did not announce itself. It crept in quietly, like a crack in a wall no one notices until the house starts to shake. At first, it was work. Project Daniel once handled with ease began to fail. Deals delayed. Contracts stalled. Decisions he made confidently were suddenly questioned. His name, once respected, started losing weight in meetings. "It's just a phase," he told himself. Then came the pressure. The joy he once felt walking into his house was gone. Then one afternoon, everything ended in 5 minutes. Daniel had just returned from work when he saw an envelope on the dining table. "What is this?" he asked. "Divorce papers," she replied flatly. The room spun. "I'm done," she said. "This marriage is not giving me what I want." Daniel's chest tightened. Within weeks, the divorce was finalized. Vanessa moved on quickly. Pictures surfaced online. New man, luxury trips, a bigger house. Daniel stopped checking. It hurt too much. No office, no title, no applause. Just silence. That night, Daniel sat on the floor of his living room. No suit, no confidence, no answers. And for the first time in many years, he prayed honestly. "God," he whispered, voice breaking, "I have nothing left." The room felt heavy, then familiar, like a place he had once known and abandoned. A scripture rose in his heart, one he had learnt as a child. "What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?" Daniel buried his face in his hands. For the first time in many years, he didn't argue, he didn't explain, he didn't justify. He simply wept, and heaven listened.
Life after the collapse was not dramatic. It was humiliating. He moved into a small room on the outskirts of the city, far from the world that once celebrated him. Every morning, he wore the same faded shirt and carried a thin brown envelope. Inside were copies of his CV. He walked office to office, street to street. Some days, receptionists didn't look up. Other days, they smiled politely and said, "We'll call you." No one ever did. Unknown to Daniel, while his life was falling apart, Esther's was quietly moving forward. She still cleaned offices, but now with a goal. She saved carefully, skipped unnecessary things, prayed relentlessly. At night, after work, she studied. Books, notes, assignments. Many mocked her. "What are you doing masters for? You are just a cleaner." She smiled and said nothing. One afternoon, under the scorching sun, Esther was walking home where she noticed a familiar figure ahead. A man standing by the roadside, thin, tired, lost. "I recognized you," she said. "Are you okay?" Daniel hesitated, then nodded. "I am looking for work around here." She didn't ask questions. She simply walked beside him. They trekked together for a long time. Daniel finally spoke. "Life didn't turn out the way I planned." Esther nodded. "It rarely does," she replied softly. They walked some more. Then she said something that pierced him. "Do you remember when God kept calling you?" "Yes," he whispered. "I hear it now," Esther continued, looking ahead, "but not the way he speaks to those who listen, more like an echo." Daniel swallowed hard. She turned to him. "Daniel, success didn't destroy you. Disobedience did." The words were not harsh. They were true. You are gifted, but your gift is tied to God's purpose. Until you return, nothing will work the way it should. Daniel's eyes burned. For the first time in years, he did not feel condemned. He felt invited. That night, Daniel knelt in his small room. No big words, no promises, just one sentence. "God, I am ready." And heaven smiled. Daniel returned to the small church he once mocked with his silence. Same wooden benches, same cracked walls, same altar. Pastor Elijah was surprised when he saw him kneel. "I'm ready," Daniel said, tears soaking the floor. "I don't want success without God again." Daniel began with small assignments, cleaning the church, arranging chairs, praying before dawn. No microphone, no title, but something was happening. When Daniel prayed, people wept. When he shared scriptures, hearts burned. When he laid hands, chains broke. The oil was undeniable. The same man who once chased parties now chased God's presence, and God trusted him again. Esther stood by him quietly. No pressure, no expectations. She watched God rebuild him brick by brick. After she completed her master's degree, Daniel invited her out. Nothing fancy, just honesty. "I once rejected you," he said, voice trembling. "But God used you to save me." He reached into his pocket and brought out a simple ring. "Will you marry me?" Esther smiled through tears. "Yes," she said. "Yes to God's purpose." Their wedding was simple. People testified of healings. Deliverances happened during worship. God sealed the union. Not long after, doors opened. Doors Daniel never applied for. An invitation, then another. A missionary organization reached out. Scotland. Daniel trembled when he read the email. God was sending him away from comfort into purpose. In Scotland, the work exploded. Churches revived. Addicts were delivered. Young people returned to God. Daniel preached with fire, but lived with humility. Esther taught, mentored, and prayed beside him. They were not famous, they were fruitful. One evening, Daniel stood on a hill overlooking the city. He held Esther's hand. "I thought ministry was boring," he said softly, "but this is the most alive I've ever been." Esther smiled through tears.